Everyone has moments in life they can't just stop thinking about. They can be embarrassing things, like that one time you face planted in front of a group of teenagers, or something amazing like the first time you hosted your family for the holidays. And on Baby, This is Keke Palmer, hosted by me, Keke Palmer, and presented by BMW, we know to savor the good memories and let go of the bad. And one thing everyone remembers fondly is their first time behind the wheel of a BMW. So come join me and BMW this summer as we explore pop culture moments and topics you just can't stop thinking about on Baby, This is Keke Palmer, sponsored by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly mini-sode where we could dig into the things that we've been watching recently. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth. This week we are talking about a show about a cult, modern slasher, an incredibly watchable not good movie, and our first of the aughts remakes.
Yeah. I don't know why that was what came to mind, but we're going with it.
No, it was appropriate. I appreciated it. So Terry, first, tell me about this modern slasher.
Yeah, so it's out actually today when this episode drops. It's called Initiation, and it takes place on a university that unravels the night a star athlete is murdered. And the movie starts out, like the first 30 minutes of this movie feels like it could be a drama about sorority and fraternity life. It starts at this party where one of the, I guess in sororities, they have the big sister and the little sister, and the little sister ends up getting a little too wasted and ends up passed out in a room with two frat guys.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And one of the frat guys is actually the brother of that sister's big sorority sister. So they're actually brother and sister. He's a star athlete, an Olympic hopeful that wants to become an Olympic swimmer. She is like worried because she goes looking for her little sister, finds her passed out in the room, finds him sort of like wasted in the corner, and then there's this other guy. She gets her out and then finds out that the little sister does not really remember anything that happens, but she thinks that maybe something did happen.
Okay.
And of course, it happens to be the big sister's brother that is in the room. And there's also something that happened apparently in the previous year that this might not be an isolated incident. Then someone dies. One of the fraternity guys dies in a very vicious attack where he's literally like nailed to, or actually drilled to the wall with like a power drill.
Oh,
yeah. And this movie is very bloody, but it kind of actually subverts the expectation of like sorority girls running through, a house from a killer, because a lot of the victims are men in this movie.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately for me, the reveal of the killer kind of lost a little bit of an impact, because while I didn't guess who it was, I immediately knew kind of the rationale behind it and the reasoning for the slayings. It sort of is well constructed in that regard, and that like you understand why it is. And there's actually kind of an air of tragedy to the way it is revealed at the very end. But it's a beautifully shot modern day slasher. It's written by 3 people, and you can kind of tell, but like one of the writers is actually her name is
it Lindsay?
Yes, Lindsay Lavanchi, who plays the main character, the sister of the fraternity brother. So she's an actress, and she's also one of the 3 writers of this script. And you can kind of tell there is sort of an inversion of what you would expect. And I would say that this film is in some ways very feminist, even though like there's a lot of men attached to as the director and the writers. I think that her voice kind of does shine through here.
Oh,
I think it's a well constructed, it's a solid slasher. It's really gory. It has a social conscious message to it in some ways. I think it's kind of smart.
Fuck yeah. That sounds really awesome, actually. I would be very down. Because I've seen The Pledge was a couple years ago from IFC Midnight. Then there was the most recent Black Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think it is really interesting to have these like a little bit more nuanced takes on Greek life and the cult, like the kind of gross rape culture that goes on within there, and like toxic masculinity. So, I mean, obviously I don't know if that's all in this movie, but I'm always so interested when more like recent movies take place within that setting.
Yeah, and I don't think it completely ties it together in a very punchy way to assert what it's talking about. But I will say that I think if you are approaching this as a typical slasher, you might be kind of bored in the first 30 minutes. I thought it was very fascinating because it's actually a very interesting story about this woman and her brother, and her like trying to figure out, what does he know? What did he do something? And that kind of pull of like trying to protect your sister, quote unquote sister, from your sorority, while knowing that your blood relation might have done something bad. And so there's that kind of pull that sort of leads it in the very beginning. And I found it very interesting and very enthralling to watch, but it doesn't like literally, I think it's 30 or 40 minutes in before the first kill happens. So,
okay.
But that's Initiation. And again, it's out today, to rent on VOD. So
cool.
What about you in this show about a cult?
Okay, so Steve and I have gotten very much into this show. It's on Netflix. It's called Leah Remini, Scientology and the Aftermath.
I didn't know that was... I've not heard of that. I mean, I know, obviously, I could figure out what it's about, but I don't think I knew that was a thing.
It is tragic.
Yeah.
So Steve and I, like on a whim, we saw it on Netflix. We watch a lot of true crime stuff, and this came up on our recommended, and I thought... and we like, oh, Scientology, like we think cult, we watch a lot of cult stuff, so we thought, oh, like why not? We've heard a lot about Leah Remini and et cetera, et cetera. So this show, we just finished the first season. There are 3 seasons.
Oh, okay, wow.
So I know, right? So the first season is about her and Mike Rinder, who was another high up person in Scientology, who they've left Scientology. They're interviewing people who have left the church and what it meant for them to leave the church and what this, like the consequences were.
Oh.
And so it's like you learn all about how Scientology, they'll hire private investigators to stalk you. They'll like slander your name and like send letters to your neighbors after you left Scientology calling you a pervert. And like the smear campaigns that they do after you've left the church because you're speaking poorly about the church. And so I knew what Scientology was, but I don't think I really understood like the depth of the like horrific manipulation tactics they use. And so that was just the first season. And now the second season is getting into like the sexual abuse. I have not started that one yet, but it's really actually quite well done. Leah Remini, I didn't really know much about her, but she is like very honest in the show, and I love that. Like she's very emotional, she's very like intense, and very much like she's doing this for good, not for like, hey, I'm an actress and like I'm gonna do this thing. It's like she wants to fuck Scientology right back, and she's trying to share these stories to raise awareness about Scientology isn't just a joke and Tom Cruise jumping on a couch, but like it's systematically destroying lives of like thousands of people. So
Damn.
It's actually really quite good. It's hour-long episodes on Netflix if you have it. It's also on, I think it's also on Hulu and Discovery Plus. It's pretty easy to watch. So I'd recommend that, especially if you're looking for a true crime thing, a docuseries, something that's like culty. I think it's really well done and interesting. It's heavy though. I mean, as these often are, but like this is just very heavy stuff about families being separated. But that's been like the show we're binging for the past couple of days. I've told Terry this before I started recording. I'm working on 2 chapters for 2 separate books. The found footage chapter for the new House of Leaves book, and then another chapter on Queering the Vampire for another book called Queering the Vampire. This is a shameless plug. So I've been writing those, like my deadlines were this week. So I've been writing those nonstop. So I haven't really been watching. I've just been doing a lot of writing and looking at books and trying to remember what it means to put words down on a page. I was like, I don't know what this means anymore. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, so I'm very excited. That is, I mean, I still have to edit them eventually, but that's not my problem right now. All I know is that I have sent them into the appropriate people and they are in the right hands.
That's awesome.
But anyway.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so happy and I'm so tired, but it's worth it. But anyway, enough about my shenanigans. You also, I think I know what this is. The incredibly watchable, not good movie.
Yeah. So I was before I watched this movie, I was going to briefly talk about The Blob because I did watch the original Blob and the remake, but I didn't want to really talk about it too much because I'm going to be I'm on a episode of the Psychoanalysis podcast that's airing next week. So shameless plug for me to go listen to that next Thursday. So I'm glad that I watched this movie, and I watched it at the pushing of, well, gentle pushing of Joe Lipsett of the Horror Queers, because he's been kind of somewhat evangelizing this film because it's one of those movies that makes baffling choices. It's not good, but it's incredibly watchable. It's on Netflix. It premiered, I think, last week. And it's called Things Heard and Seen.
I read Joe's review and it was the beautiful chef's kiss, like an amazing negative review that made me want to watch the movie.
Yeah.
and then everyone started tweeting about it. And I was like, this sounds terrible. I cannot wait to watch it.
I mean, I love that just the title of his review is that it's a must-watch, not good, compulsively entertaining thriller. And I kind of agree with that assessment, to be perfectly honest. So it's about... what is it about? It is about...
What is it about?
It's about this married couple played by Amanda Seyfried and
that car.
A car with no muffler. Her husband played by the hunka dude, James Norton. This man.
Oh, he's so pretty.
He's so
got
good looking.
Beautiful body and face.
His face is really nice. I love his hair, and he has an impeccable body. I love him.
Don't you see his butt in this movie?
You do see his butt in this movie. It's
all right, good.
Very unsexy, unfortunately. And he's a dick.
Oh, well.
So, okay, so he gets this job at this local college, and they move into this new kind of farmhouse away from the city life. Mm-hmm. And it appears to be haunted, and their daughter sees a woman in her room, and there's like, general ghost movie buffoonery happening with like creaky noises, shadows, stuff like that. And then it kind of veers into an infidelity thriller where he starts to have an affair with a student played by the woman, young adult from Stranger Things. Why is this not Natalia Dyer?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sister of one of them.
Yes.
Why did I just forget everyone's name in Stranger Things?
Well, because it hasn't been on the air for like 2 years now, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it has been 2 years.
It's been delayed so long from COVID. Yeah, because I thought like season 4 was supposed to come out last year, and then it got delayed, and who knows when it's coming out now. But yeah, so she plays a student. He kind of like shows his interest into her, and so it has that, and then it has like this ghost territory that kind of feels a little reminiscent, without being spoilery, a little reminiscent of like What Lies Beneath. And then there's also like a religious angle that gets introduced. And it's like so many subgenres all rolled into one mishmash of a movie. And it's one of those kinds of movies where it has such a weird energy and pacing that halfway through the nearly 2-hour runtime, I thought, I have no idea what this movie is about or where it's going. And then it starts to like kind of hit the kind of beats that you expect. And even though like I knew, I was like, oh, well, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, it still did them in intriguing ways that kind of surprised me, even though I wasn't surprised. It's such a weird movie.
Okay, yeah, I need to watch this film because it sounds like an enigma, a beautiful enigma.
Yeah, it's wild. And it's based on a novel by Elizabeth Brundage, apparently, called All Things Cease to Appear, which is an equally confounding title as the film. So, I mean, good for that there, I guess. But it's on Netflix. It's kind of weird and wild and not good, but compulsively entertaining, as Joe said in his review. So, yeah, I recommend it.
Fuck yeah. I will be watching it.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts when you do.
I can't wait. Okay. So now let's talk about our first of our aughts remake journey, because holy shit, I have so many thoughts.
I've been so excited to talk to you about this one. What are we watching, Mary Beth? Or what did we watch, Mary Beth?
We watched the remake of The Hills Have Eyes from 2006, directed by Alexandre Aja. And wow. I had never seen it, which is why I'm reacting like this. I have never seen this movie.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It's so much. So much happens in this movie. I don't even know where to begin.
I mean, ostensibly, it is about a family that's going on a road trip that falls prey to a group of mutant cannibals in a desert. I mean, that's like
the long and short of it.
Basic.
Yes, but boy, oh boy, it's so much more than that. Just so everyone knows, the man who plays the father of this family is played by Ted Levine, who played Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, it's true.
What? He looks unidentifiable. Just so everyone knows.
It's the voice for me that drew me back in. I was like, his voice, it has such a timbre to it. I was like,
yeah, I didn't even think of, but yeah.
And it has Vanessa Shaw from Hocus Pocus in it.
The cast is so very early 2000 or like aughts, I feel like. Okay, but I also, Terry, I don't even know what to talk about. So this is the most post 9/11 horror film I've ever fucking seen in my entire life.
Yep.
Like, there is a point where a man stabs a cannibal through the head with an American flag. There's a moment where a man walks through the flames with triumphant music playing, and he's holding a baby, a shotgun, and a fucking German Shepherd on a chain leash.
Yeah.
It is the most like fuck America, but also look at America coming back together movie. And it is like, it's so obvious that I love it. You know what I mean? Like, the music changes from like this kind of like, the score is pretty interesting. I actually like the score for most of the film. Yeah. And at the end, when they start like fighting back, it turns into triumphant, like Western-esque music where it's like, bow, 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 look, the white man's back to save everybody. Bow, 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 bow. But then also there's this commentary about how the nuclear testing in the deserts of New Mexico are why these people are this way, and they wouldn't leave their home, so they did the nuclear testing, and now everything has gone to shit.
Yes. What I love about that, by the way, is the title sequence where it's played by a song. I believe it's called More and More by Webb Pierce. Mm-hmm. And the song is using more and more I'm forgetting the past. And it starts with like this sort of 1950s style, my cake is ready, coming out of the oven, intercut with like, as she's blowing out the candles, intercut with like an atomic blast. Yeah. And then there's bits of nuclear blast montage coupled with birth defects and mutations and a lot of effects of nuclear, testing. That coupled with that song is such an interesting thing about how America's society forgets about the atrocities that American society puts on its own people, whether that's the people that lived here before us, the people that are currently living here, all of that, and how much it is a self-constructed trauma. And that montage in the beginning just really, like, I feel for me sets the tone of this movie.
It 100% does. It definitely does. And, we're destined to repeat our mistakes as well. And, it's unfortunately very relevant today still, of the things that we keep doing to people that live here or have lived here, people who are immigrants that live, it's sadly relevant now. But the other thing, the one thing I was very interested in is the dad character, Big Bob, and then the brother-in-law, the only person in this movie who is not part of this family. His name is what is his name?
His name is Doug.
So there's Bobby, who is like gun-toting, rootin'-tootin' white dad who drives a truck and loves to go camping and will do anything to protect his family. Like, he's a cop. And then there's Doug, who works for a telecommunications company, and who they say to him, he's just mad because he's a Democrat. And so very much off the bat, there is this tension between conservatives and Democrats. And guess who wins guess who survives? The Democrats, which is so fun. Like, I hated Doug at the very beginning, which is just so funny. He's so insufferable. He's so annoying. He's like, fuck your sister. And he's smoking a cigarette in like, the renovated Airstream trailer that they're driving.
Oh, he is the epitome of like that kind of toxic masculinity that we see at the beginning of the 2000s. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And yet he's the one that triumphs. I just have so many thoughts and feelings about representations of masculinity in this movie. And it's just like an infinitely fascinating film that is so mean. It is so fucking mean.
Yes, it is incredibly mean. And I'll be honest, the first 53 minutes is a slow burn of cranking tension.
Yes. Okay, I'm glad you brought this up. Yeah.
It is so fucking... watching this time, I forgot how long it takes to get to the part where Big Bob is... crucified-ish in flames
and lit on fucking fire. I screamed when that happened.
Yes, but that moment leading up to that is such a slow burn of perfectly executed tension where it's things just start to slowly go wrong and continually go wrong. And it's the moment at the gas station when he walks up to it and the guy blows his head off, and then all of a sudden you hear "Daddy."
I
screamed.
I also screamed. Exactly.
Hit my stomach.
That's what everything there's a huge marked shift there. Oh my God, this is these are the kind of people, they're fucking with them. It's it's like a mind game. It's not just killing, but fucking with you. Whew.
And then there's the moment where I can't remember if it's Bobby or if it's Doug runs in the trailer and says, "Brenda, watch the baby."
Terry, thank you so much, because I was so upset at that line.
Yes, Brenda watched the baby, and he doesn't realize that Brenda is being sexually assaulted, or had just been, or is about to. I can't remember which.
I believe she's about to be. I think one of the guys is holding her down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she is about to be sexually assaulted, and
it's so upsetting.
It's so upsetting. I got, oh my God. But purposefully so. This movie is so deeply upsetting, and it knows how to be deeply upsetting.
What surprises me is that you think about when is the last time that you saw a studio produced film that is this nasty? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. Because I'm trying to think. I'm most of the movies I watch are not big studio produced.
Right. There are a lot of, very independent films and whatnot. Whereas this one had a wide release. It had a big budget. It grossed a lot of money. It's a big picture release at that time, and it is disgusting. It is mean. It is vile. It is oh.
It's and it's fascinating because that was the kind of movie that got made in that time. We're gonna look at these movies from the aughts, had wide releases, and they were this is why I didn't see how like Tales of Eyes and a lot of these other films, because it was like that torture porn era, and that was before I was like really into I was into horror, but like was a snob about gore and whatever. But like Saw and Hostel and this movie, like torture porn was like the thing, and people were paying money to go see it, and studios were paying a lot of fucking money to make them.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
And you think about, I mean, this was produced by Searchlight Pictures, and you think about that, you know, they used to be 20th century, right? And you think about the movies that they come out with now. I mean, they, you know, they produced in the intervening years, The Shape of Water. They, you know, produce like this year, The Night House and Antlers is coming out. So like they do horror, but it's not of this, I don't want to say caliber, but like of this meanness. You know what I mean?
It's they do like, it's like more they try to do like higher brow, like what they perceive as higher brow horror. That's like a little bit more like heady rather than gory.
Yeah. It's wild to me.
Something else I was going to say about this movie, but I forgot.
The thing that you kind of mentioned a little, you were talking a little bit about Doug, and what I did appreciate about this movie is how much shit it puts Doug through. I love a horror movie that puts its protagonist through the ringer, and Doug goes through a whole lot of shit to you know, get out of this alive. The moment that had been seared in my mind since I saw this in the movie theater is when he gets knocked out and he wakes up and he is locked in a freezer or a refrigerator, which is like body parts. It's so disgusting, and it's so goopy and gross and absolutely claustrophobic and terrifying. And that scene has like lingered in my mind since I saw this in the theater.
Yeah, that was really awful. I think that's also, I'm not necessarily claustrophobic, but like that like idea of being trapped in something like that. But
well,
like,
you gotta think the smell.
Terry, I could not stop thinking about the smell. Like when there's a point when they're walking through, like it looks like a meat shop, workshop, nasty. And I was just like, how badly does that smell? Like how badly does this entire place just stink of like rancid blood and rotten flesh? Like, I
mean, because it's in the desert, there's no AC, like there's just fans, everything is so sweaty.
Hot.
That refrigerator is obviously not on. It's like I can't imagine. It brings me back. It kind of brings me back to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and like the movie that you can like sort of smell through the screen.
Yes, smell-o-vision, as I have started to say a bunch when we watch movies.
Yeah.
Also, another point in this movie that I just wanted to bring up briefly is when Doug is talking to one of the citizens who's in a wheelchair, and he's kind of telling them like, y'all. He's saying to Doug, your people like abandoned us, blah blah blah, like kind of doing that little bit of like a info dump a little bit. But then he just pauses and goes, "It's breakfast time," and then a giant man bursts through the fucking window with an axe, and it is just mwah. This movie is full of weird one-liners like that. Like there's before they set the dad on fire, they say something. I don't know if it just lighted it up or what, but like there are moments where they'll say little liners like this, and then there'll just be a huge shock and like action fight sequence, and it really is well crafted in that way.
I'm so thankful that Wes Craven got together with Alexandre Aja, because I believe what I remember, if I remember correctly, Wes Craven wanted him to do this film and gave him like the permission to like remake it. I think after seeing High Tension.
Good, because I swear to God, I don't know who else could have remade this as like, I haven't seen the original one, but like this has got the Aja meanness all over it.
Yeah, it does. And you know, I think this is one of those rare cases where the remake is better than the original. You said you haven't seen the original.
I have not seen the original, no.
It's not my favorite of Wes Craven's films.
Okay.
Granted, I've not seen it a whole lot. I might have seen it maybe once, maybe twice in my life, but it's not one that, if I'm going to pull out a Wes Craven film, I'm not going to go gravitate to that.
Yeah.
I'd much rather watch this remake than that original film.
Yeah. Okay.
But man,
this movie is really good. And I was very surprised by how much I liked this movie.
Yeah.
It's really
well done. It holds up,
done.
I think. I think it holds up.
It holds up. The one thing I did wish is they did more of the cannibalism. I know that sounds fucked up. I know. But they only have one moment of cannibalism.
Yeah.
And maybe there could have been more. I sound like a psychopath. I wish they had eaten more people.
Why didn't they eat the baby? I'm kidding.
Oh my God. I don't think my heart could have handled that one. I would have been like, this was not in theaters. There's no way that anyone paid money to go see this movie. Like, no fucking way. I'm too used to watching fucked up shit from like other countries or independently made where I'm like, the baby is going to explode in like 2 seconds.
I remember you even texted me. He's like, I don't like that there's a baby in this.
Like, I was like
that.
I've seen too many movies recently where like something bad happens to a baby. And I'm like, maybe I should stop watching those kinds of movies.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, boy. Well, anyway. But yeah. Okay. So that was The Hills Have Eyes. Oh, have you seen The Hills Have Eyes 2? I have not seen The Hills Have Eyes 2.
Ugh.
Okay.
So bad.
Okay.
In my opinion, it is really bad.
I figured. It feels like
the only thing I remember about it, I don't remember exactly the way it unfolds, but there is someone that is like stuffed in an outhouse toilet that's like full of shit.
Oh, ew.
That's like that, and it's about military. Like I think the victims are military members. That is literally all I remember about the film, just being grossed out by the outhouse scene and thinking it was not a good movie. And that it was about military. I'm pretty sure that's all I remember.
It says it's the National Guard trainees. Okay. That's like, I don't really know anything about it either. I just know it's like similar place.
I saw it in theaters because I loved the first one so much and was like, I hated this movie. I don't know. Maybe it's aged better. You know, some movies people tend to find appreciation for later, but I have no desire to revisit it.
Yep. All right. I will not watch it. So what are we watching for next week's episode for our aughts remakes?
Ooh, I'm so excited to rewatch this one, and you haven't seen it before.
No, I haven't.
We are seeing 2005's House of Wax remake, which is so good.
I'm so excited, especially because there's been a big resurgence of people talking about it on the timeline on Twitter, and so I know that Paris Hilton is in it, which I'm excited for, and that's really all I know. And I've seen a couple gifs of like melting people, and I'm very excited to watch.
The effects in this are really good. I'm so excited to revisit it.
And the guy who directed House of Wax directed Orphan, camp masterpiece from 2009.
It's true. It's so true.
Him.
He's good. This movie's great. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Sorry, that's my excited sound.
I love it. I'm here for it. Okay, but who are we talking to on Monday, Mary Beth?
I've lost all faculties of thought and speech. We are talking to amazing artist Andrew Lassane. You've probably seen some of his amazing art on shoes. He does custom shoes. And we are talking to him about Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Spoiler alert. Probably my favorite of the anthologies of that decade. And this was a fun conversation.
Yeah, it was awesome to talk to Andrew and hear about all of his art and his process and horror. So you won't want to miss that episode.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Okay, listeners, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. Did you watch one of the films that we talked about this week and have thoughts? Do you have suggestions for one of the aughts remakes that we should talk about? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe.
Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
Somebody please think of the children! Somebody please think of the children! Somebody please think of the children!
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is the briefing room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.